Hello to you. I have an update for everyone. Because it has been a little bit difficult to draw people out at this late point during the summer to take a writing class, what I've decided to do is move my narrative healing for your journey of loss into September. And I just wanted to give everybody a heads up about it. I still haven't confirmed the day of the week that it's going to be running for either the in-person or the on Zoom class, and I will let you know that, so please stay tuned for that. But I just wanted to put out a video about that. But there's also something else that I wanted to discuss today, and there's something that I've been mulling over, and keep in mind that the loss of my wife was 12 years ago, 13 years in this November. And the loss of my father was even longer than that. I was 19. And honestly, it just goes to show you, I can tell you from experience that loss changes your life. And what that means is that you will be dealing with it for the remainder of your life. But that is only because you loved someone. And I don't know who said it, but it's so true. Loss, loss lasts as long as love. And love doesn't go away, So of course it does. And that's maybe not something that people really want to hear. And that's kind of what I want to address today, is that when you have sustained a significant loss, that's why it almost feels or reads like the loss of mobility, like as in a physical disability or a learning disability or anything. Loss has a way of almost making you feel dirty, because of the awkwardness that it can create around you, the social awkwardness. And that's why I had so much fun at Camp Widow, because I didn't have to explain myself, because everybody that was there had been through the loss of a spouse. It was illuminating. It was delightful. It was incredible. And that also just goes to show you that as somebody who has sustained multiple significant losses goes through life not knowing if the people around her have experienced something like that, that's why it feels socially awkward, because it's something you have to disclose to someone, and that sometimes it feels unfair. It feels unfair, it feels unhard, and it feels like, honestly, a booby trap that you spring on someone. It's not fun. And I think that's why people who are dealing with loss, it is so important to find your people, to find the people that understand, who you don't need to explain to. So peer support for all kinds of loss is so incredibly important, because it's a major factor in all of my relationships. How does that other person feel about my loss? Because it's important. It's really important, because that tells you how safe you feel around them. Just like if I disclose my physical disability, if I disclose my learning disability, if I disclose my sexuality, all of those things, when you disclose those things, it's a risk, because somebody could turn around and say, I don't like that, or I'm not into that, or I don't want to deal with you as you are. Really stings. And with loss, there are so many different kinds of loss. You know, there is loss with a period at the end. They are not coming back. There is loss with a they are still in the world. A divorce is just like a partner dying, but it's more complicated because you still have to interact with them. You still might have children with them. It is a major factor in your life that you definitely have to deal with, you know, for the rest of it. So many types of loss: job loss, situation loss, house loss. I mean, you can lose things that you never really had in the first place, and it can sting for years, because that's what loss is. It is normal. And honestly, it's starting to bother me what kind of stigmas there are around things like this that you have to disclose. Loss, including loss. And it was a breath of, Camp Widow was a breath of fresh air, sorry. It was a breath of fresh air to not have that fear, to not have that anxiety of what is somebody going to say when I say I lost my spouse or I lost my dad. Especially when I say I lost my spouse when I was 34 and I lost my dad when I was 19. That's a significant loss. When I was diagnosed with a physical disability when I was 12. That's big. That's heavy and emotional. That's hard to disclose because that's big. And you're automatically saying, here, hold this. It's heavy. It's awkward. It's like transporting a wardrobe. There's a lot of drawers and there are a lot of shelves and there can be glass involved and it's just a pain in the ass. And it feels like it feels like when you disclose loss, there's a stigma because you're saying you deal with this. And when I say I lost my partner, I have changed the way that I disclose, because now I follow it up with I lost my partner, but you know what? That's the hand I was dealt. Like, I lost my partner. Let's move on. I don't want to talk about this. I don't want you to have to figure out how you feel about it. I don't want you to talk to me. I don't want therapy. It's just something that happened in my life, and now I'm going to get angry. My disability was just something that happened to me. My learning disability was just something that happened to me. My loss was just something that happened to me. You don't have to deal with it, but you have to respect it. Because when I lost my dad or lost my partner or lost my mobility or realized I was neurodivergent, it didn't change who I was as a person. And that's what the devastating thing is that these things that happened to me, they didn't change who I was at the core. But it sure changed the way that I felt about myself sometimes. It sure changes the way that other people feel about me and see me. And that's hard to disclose. And that is also going to last for the rest of my life. Because the fact that I lost all of those things isn't going to change. So the people that I am in a relationship with, they do have to deal with it. But they don't have to deal with it every second. You know, not like I do. Right? You don't have to deal with other people's losses like the person themselves deals with it. And that's why it's easy to forget other people's losses too. It's easy to be indifferent or inconsiderate or just forgetful, because it's not yours. That's okay. I think, people are sometimes afraid to say the wrong things, or afraid to say too little, or afraid to say too much. Again, you don't have to deal with my loss unless I come to you and I say, I'm having a really bad day with X because X happened and then I felt this way. Unless someone says to you, I think you can handle this, they're not going to say, here. And you have to be a particular kind of person to open their arms and say, bring it on. So, a long story short, bring it on. Bring it on. I can handle it. Okay? I promise you, I can handle it. So if you are sitting in your loss and you need somewhere to write about it, if you need somewhere to create about it, somewhere non-judgmental where you don't have to explain what, why, where, unless you want to, because those are personal details. You don't even have to, when we're having the writing prompts and creating material, you don't even have to share. This is a very personal thing. But when I teach in my classes, I make a very big deal about creating a safe space for you to do this, because it is so hard. I mean, memoir is hard. They call it, and I will forever, credit my coach, Chris Fraser, for saying memoir is a brutal act in honesty. We'll try writing about loss. That's like fucking Armageddon, honestly. And I wrote a lot about Armageddon-ish. I'm going to say that again because that's just funny. Armageddon-ish types of poetry after Kara died, because that's what it felt like, because it felt like the world was ending. It did. And I want a group of people around me that I can say that to, and they won't be threatened because they're like, bring it on. I need to talk about this. Obviously, I need to talk about this because, God damn it, it gets in the way of relationships. And just like so many things, I feel like I can't walk into a relationship and be all of me. Because these things that have happened to me, they're just things that have happened to me. They're just part of me. I was born one way, just like Lady Gaga says. I was born this way, baby. And then these experiences happened to me and they left a mark. And sometimes I think there are people that can only see those things, not the person under them that has experienced those things and whose behavior has been affected by those things. So that, I think, that's the space that I would like to offer for those out there that are watching this who have sustained loss of any kind. You don't have to be a widower or widower. You don't have to be queer. You don't have to be heterosexual. You don't have to be black, white, Jewish, Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim. Loss is a universal mark maker on us, all of us, and we don't have a choice about that. And if you have not sustained a loss It's okay to hit next. It's okay to say, I can't deal with this yet. That's fine. But I have to. And I need a space where I feel safe as a queer person, as a neurodivergent person, as a physically disabled person, and as a bereaved person. That's a lot of things. You know, your identity, just like it's like you're picking up, you're a bee. I'm all bees. You're a bee and you're just picking up pollen wherever you go, and you need somewhere to deposit it. You need an understanding place, and you need a soft place to fall, because you can only experience these things for so long and experience negative things for so long before you feel a bit like an outcast, a bit ostracized, stigmatized, dirty. Like, ooh, I don't want to touch that. She's got cooties. It really does. Because I don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable. I really don't. I mean, sometimes I push the envelope because I'm a writer and I do that. But with loss, I'm not pushing the envelope on purpose. I am trying to push all the horrible experiences out of me so I can look at them and I can process them and I can put them behind me. What else are you going to do? That is how we process things. We can't leave them on the inside. If there's negative experiences, we can't leave them on the inside because they eat us in there and multiply in the dark. And we do not do ourselves justice if we don't take care of our needs by attending to the loss. Losses in family relationships, romantic relationships, friendships, things, any and everything that we have to walk away from. Every time we have to make a choice, there's a bit of loss in there. And there are so many other things. But sometimes when you have loss, it's like loss is the first thing in the gauntlet that you have to go through in order to get to the good stuff. Because there is that. For just as much loss and grief, there is gratitude. And for someone that has experienced loss, that's the only way that you can balance it. Yes, I lost her, but I loved the hell out of her. She was so funny. She was so funny, and she had a way of making me laugh even when I didn't want to. She was so good at saying, Kelly, where are you going to put your energy? Decide. You always have the choice to decide to laugh and decide where to put your energy. And, to decide to bake me cookies. Like, to put a sack of oranges on your head and dance around the room for your son and your wife just because. There are those things too, and it's like, it's like those things get obstructed by the loss because that's all there is, but it's not. It's just that loss creates a barrier between people. And I am all for taking that down, and not brick by brick. Like I'm saying, bring in Miley Cyrus and a wrecking ball and just, smash the hell out of it. Get it out of the way. It's just, it's like good fences don't make good neighbors. Nothing gets through, and you don't actually get to know who the person is if you run away. when you're challenged by somebody else's grief. But it is challenging. I acknowledge that. Oh, yes. So everyone has to deal with how they feel about loss and death and all these things on their own terms. Like, nobody can do that for you. But one way that you can do it for yourself is to write, is to create. That is what creative activities are for you to be able to do things with your hands and your mind, to express the things that you think God only knows how I'm going to express this. And with writing, I always can. It was my guiding light, honestly. And that is how it is for a lot of people. I'm going to read you something. And in my classes, obviously, we'll look at a lot of poetry, literature on loss. Some of it will be funny. I'm sure I'll write lots of funny stuff. It's like, I didn't know how funny was till my wife died. I really didn't. I'm hilarious. I wrote a whole book of hilarity just because I did need to make that choice to laugh. And the high-flying adventures of Captain Grief, and Captain Grief is going to be with me forever, saying, don't you fucking apologize about the way you grieve. You're not regressing. You are coping. You are developing coping strategies for this effing stuff. That's how she helped me. I created her to help me. But I've also created other things that have helped me just as much. And I want to explore the way that other people who have sustained loss have also dealt with it, because it speaks to me. And The Widow's Crayon Box by Molly Peacock, I picked it up in in Book City down on Queen Street, and oh my God, that first poem resonated with me like nobody's business. It just fucking broke my heart as I read it and went, this is coming home with me. Touched. When I feel moved and then I say, I am touched, it's another presence inside me I sense. The dip of an oar, a canoe being launched. I'm the oar, but I'm the water, and sense at once initiation and response. After you died, I felt you next to me, and over months, you entered gradually into the lake and disappeared. Not gone, but so internalized, you're not next to me. You're not the port or the support. You're done being you. And my loneliness is so extreme that I feel moved by almost anything. Even the forehead of a dog that leans against my knee in an elevator. Things as brief as all the ways you would lean against me getting a glass of water at the sink. Everything touches me now that I'm not touched, but moved. That distinction is so important. It really spoke to me because the hardest thing about losing my wife was feeling her around me constantly and not being able to touch her. And I think that's the reason why a loss like that really makes you feel touch starved, that really creates an absolutely desperate need for human connection. Because there's a void there where there was once the person you wanted to grow old with, your partner. It is a very intense, intimate loss. And I know exactly why that feels overwhelming to other people. Of course I do. But what the fuck am I going to do about that? I can't. It's up to other people to decide if they accept me as I am, with all my experiences, with all my losses, and determined that they're just a part of me, and that sometimes it's going to make me like a raw nerve. You know, I will be touched by, the other day, I saw someone on a program, a gentleman saying to a woman, please sit down. Please sit down and talk with me. And I started to bawl. It was ridiculous. I mean, it felt ridiculous to me, but was it? That was a moment of one person reaching out to another person with genuine empathy. You know, with a genuine need to connect. I need that. We all need that. And if this is the way that you can have that, if you think you would feel safe with me as a facilitator and trust me to hold a space filled with people that want to connect and want to revisit all of their connections in life and in loss through their writing, then maybe this is the right space for you. And I'm so determined and so passionate about saying, I get it. I get you. Bring it on. This is what I'm supposed to do. I need to make room for loss. I need to make room for all sorts of loss and the people that are experiencing those things. So you can go to my website, which is captaingrief.ca, and I will, as soon as I've confirmed the dates, update the invitations to join the course, and you can do it through there and get in contact with me directly, and we will go from there. But, you know, if you're considering this, just think about it for a while and then reach out. You can sign up for the course, or if you have any questions, you can contact me at brave.creative.kelly@gmail.com. Send me any questions, and if you're ready, if you want to take that risk, hopefully I'm making it just a wee bit easier by saying bring it on. Even if you just want to have a conversation with me about loss in general to decide whether or not this is something that you would like, then my door is open. Okay? So, I feel better. I feel better. Thank you to my best friend Naomi, who just spent the day with me letting me cry. I feel better. Because she is somebody who can take it, you know? Like, we all have to have those people in life that we trust enough. So, yes, I'm grateful for her. and all the people in my life that get it and love me for exactly who and how I am. And go team. All right, take care. And again, that website is captaingrief.ca, and my email is brave.creative.kelly@gmail.com. Okay, take care and hope to hear from you. Bye.